Have you ever wondered how Muslim communalism emerged in India? It's a question that has intrigued historians and social scientists for generations. And today, we'll delve into this complex aspect of India's past. Let's begin by understanding what we mean by communalism. It's essentially a socio-political phenomenon where a particular community, distinguished by religion, language, or ethnicity, promotes its own interests above those of other communities. In an Indian context, Muslim communalism refers to the assertion of distinct Muslim identity and interests, often in opposition to the majority Hindu community. But where did this begin? To trace its roots, we journey back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, under the ambit of British colonial rule. This was a period when the British implemented the policy of divide and rule, intentionally or otherwise, which led to growing divisions between India's diverse communities. The British, in their quest to maintain control, often played communities against each other. They presented the Hindu majority and Muslim minority as two distinct homogeneous groups with divergent interests. This narrative, supported by policies like separate electorates for Muslims, only served to widen the communal divide. It's important to note, however, that this divide wasn't merely a result of British manipulation. Economic, social, and political factors within India also played a role. The Muslim community, feeling marginalized and threatened by the rise of Hindu nationalism, began to assert its distinct identity and interests more forcefully. This sense of insecurity, coupled with the desire for self-determination, led to the emergence of Muslim communalism. This phenomenon wasn't an overnight process. It evolved over decades, fueled by a mix of external manipulation and internal dynamics. It was a complex interplay of historical, political, and socio-economic factors that eventually led to the separation of Muslim interests in India. And so, we find ourselves at a crucial juncture in history, at the doorstep of a significant development. This question of identity and communalism led to the formation of the Muslim League. This organization would go on to play a pivotal role in India's journey towards independence, and its legacy continues to shape the subcontinent even today. The year 1906 marked a significant turn in Indian history with the founding of the Muslim League. The genesis of the Muslim League was a direct response to the perceived marginalization of Muslims in Indian politics. The underlying concern was that Muslim interests were being overshadowed in the predominantly Hindu Indian National Congress. This sense of apprehension and the desire to secure a political platform for Muslims led to the birth of the Muslim League. The League was founded under the leadership of key figures who were influential in the Muslim community. Among them were Aga Khan Trat, the spiritual leader of the Ismaili Shia community, and Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. Their collective goal was to represent Muslims in the political arena and to ensure that their interests were not diluted in the larger Indian narrative. The Muslim League's initial objectives were modest. They sought to promote loyalty to the British government, to protect and advance the political rights and interests of Muslims, and to prevent the rise of hostility between Muslim and other Indian communities. The League embraced a moderate and conciliatory approach, seeking to work within the framework of British colonial rule. However, its relationship with the British was a complex one. On one hand, the League was seen as a tool for the British to counter the influence of the Indian National Congress. On the other hand, the British viewed the League as a representative body for Muslims, thus giving it a certain level of political legitimacy. Over time, the Muslim League evolved in its objectives and tactics. It moved from being a political group concerned primarily with Muslim interests to a major player in the Indian political scene. The League began to advocate for a separate Muslim state, a demand that eventually culminated in the creation of Pakistan. The Muslim League went from a political group to a major player in the Indian political scene. The 1930s and 40s saw the rise of Muslim communalism in India, a period marked by significant shifts in political consciousness. It was the backdrop against which Muslim communalism began to take root and grow. Several factors contributed to this rise. A key player in this narrative was the British colonial administration. Adopting a classic divide and rule strategy, the British exacerbated existing religious tensions to maintain control over the Indian subcontinent. By pitting Hindus and Muslims against each other, they successfully diverted attention from the common enemy, British imperialism. The Hindu-Muslim divide, already present due to historical and cultural differences, played a significant role in the rise of Muslim communalism. This divide, deepened by the British, led to an increasing sense of alienation among the Muslim population. They began to feel marginalized and threatened by the majority Hindu population, leading to a surge in Muslim identity politics. Amidst this growing communalism, the demand for a separate Muslim homeland, Pakistan, gained traction. This was seen as a solution to the perceived marginalization of Muslims in a predominantly Hindu India. The idea of Pakistan was not merely a political demand, but a symbol of Muslim identity and self-determination. At the helm of this movement was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, a key figure in Indian politics. Jinnah, initially an advocate for Hindu-Muslim unity, gradually became the face of Muslim communalism. His transformation mirrored the changing political landscape. He articulated the fears and aspirations of the Muslim community, championing the cause for a separate Muslim nation. Jinnah's role was instrumental in shaping the narrative of Muslim communalism. His advocacy for a separate Muslim nation gave a clear direction to the movement, leading it towards the eventual creation of Pakistan. The rise of Muslim communalism was a complex process with profound implications for the future of India. It not only led to the partition of India and the birth of Pakistan, but it also left a lasting impact on the socio-political fabric of the subcontinent, the effects of which are still felt today. The legacy of the Muslim League and Muslim communalism is still felt today. The aftermath of these movements led to one of the most significant events in the history of the Indian subcontinent, the partition of India and the creation of Pakistan. When the British left India in August 1947, the subcontinent was divided along religious lines, forming two separate nations, predominantly Hindu India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. The division was drawn by Cyril Radcliffe, a British lawyer who had never before set foot in India. This hasty and ill-planned partition led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with millions of Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims crossing borders amidst escalating violence and chaos. This was the direct outcome of the Muslim League's demand for a separate homeland for Muslims, a demand rooted in Muslim communalism. The idea was to protect the rights of Muslims in a predominantly Hindu India, but it ended up causing deep fissures and communal tensions that persist to this day. In Pakistan, the Muslim League evolved into a major political force, shaping the country's policies and its identity as an Islamic republic. Its influence is evident in Pakistan's constitution, its legal system, and its education policy. The League's vision of a Muslim-majority nation, separate from India, continues to shape Pakistan's national narrative and its relationship with its neighbor. In India, the legacy of Muslim communalism is more complex. The partition left a deep scar on the national psyche, leading to a hardening of religious identities and communal tensions. Yet, India chose to remain a secular state, committed to protecting the rights of all its citizens, regardless of their religious affiliations. The Muslim League and Muslim communalism have left an indelible mark on the subcontinent. Their legacy is a reminder of the power of religious identity in shaping political landscapes and the consequences of dividing people along communal lines. It serves as a lesson for future generations about the importance of unity, tolerance, and mutual respect in a diverse society. So, what have we learned about Muslim communalism and the founding of the Muslim League? We've embarked on a fascinating journey through history, exploring the roots and rise of Muslim communalism and the establishment of the Muslim League. We've seen how the seeds of communalism were sown during the late 19th century, when the British colonial rule in India was at its peak. This period marked the beginning of a distinct political identity for Muslims in India, ultimately leading to the formation of the Muslim League. The Muslim League, we discovered, was a political party established in December 1906. Its creation was a response to the perceived marginalization of Muslims in Indian politics. The League played a crucial role in championing Muslim interests, advocating for the protection of Muslim rights, and ultimately calling for a separate nation for Muslims, which led to the creation of Pakistan. We've also delved into the rise of Muslim communalism, understanding how it was fueled by various factors. These included the introduction of separate electorates, the divisive politics of the British, and the socio-economic conditions of Muslims at the time. We've seen how communalism evolved over the years, influencing the course of history and leaving a deep impact on the subcontinent. Finally, we discussed the aftermath and legacy of these historical events. We saw how they continue to shape the socio-political landscape of India and Pakistan even today. From the partition riots to the ongoing Kashmir issue, the ripple effects of this history are still palpable. Understanding this intricate history is important for comprehending contemporary issues in India and Pakistan. It helps us appreciate the complexities of the present, the diversity of perspectives, and the challenges of achieving harmony amidst deep-seated communal tensions. Understanding the past helps us to navigate the complex realities of the present. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history.